Alex. I'm a software engineer at Humana. And as this is the very first deck talk of 2019, I feel I need to apologize for starting it off with Comic Sans. So, oops. But let's go ahead and get into it. So, bad ideas. We've all had them. They're all things that we've maybe popped into our heads or we've written down somewhere and stuffed in a drawer never to see again. But they're things that really sound good to us at first, and then when we actually go to carry them out, when we actually put them in practice, is when we think, oh, you know what? Maybe this wasn't the best idea after all. So it might look something like this wonderful gift. I don't know if you can see it there, but the caption says, "My nephew's faces on pillows for Mother's Day was a great idea in theory." Or maybe this super inclusive banner. If you can't see it, the knot is colored in pink on a pink background. Brilliant. Or one of my favorites, this absolutely impenetrable security gate. Go ahead and try. You're not getting through that one. Or not right here. But if you haven't, I highly recommend you check out the Crappy Design subreddit. Full of gems like this. And if you're a designer, it might actually make you cry one way or another. But to give a bit of a personal example, I'm going to go ahead and start with the story. When I was about 13 or so, I was outside with some friends. I was playing around. We were playing basketball and then doing a bunch of kid things. And one of them comes up to me and he says, "Hey Alex, I got a dare for you." And I think, all right, what is it? He says, "Well, I dare you to go climb up on top of my mom's SUV, leap off, and slam dunk the basketball on max height."
Bad idea.
Yeah, but my first thought was, oh my god, I'm about to be the coolest kid on the block. So I climb up there, and this is a large vehicle. I was like 13 at the time, so I was shorter, but also I remember this being a large vehicle. I climb up there, I get the ball, and this is when I see all the other kids in the area. They stop what they're doing, they take a look at me, and that's about when I get nervous. That's about when I realize this might have been a bad idea. So I'm standing up there with ball in hands, and I'm thinking, should I really do this? Also, another part of me is thinking, all the other kids are watching you. What are you going to do? Back out now? No, of course not. So I steady the grip of the ball, leap forward, slip, grab the rim, bang! I come crashing down, land right on my wrist. I remember I threw it back behind my back. I was writhing in pain, and it was both numb and painful. And if that makes any sense. But I was running around. They were all laughing at me, by the way. They all thought this was hilarious. I started rolling around in the grass, too, I remember at one point, trying to numb the pain. And grass and dirt don't feel as good as pillows, by the way. If you've ever tried that, they don't. But eventually that numb pain finally went away. It finally started to set. And I thought I just kind of sprained it. Thought maybe I bruised it. So after a while, I ended up going home, kind of brush it off. I'll think whatever. It'll get better in the morning, but my parents said they noticed something was wrong when I was struggling to open doors. So that's when they took me to the doctor. Well, that's when they asked what happened. And fun fact, to this day, I still haven't actually told them the full story because I was too embarrassed to. But that's when they asked what happened. And so they take me to the doctor, and I remember I'm sitting in the doctor's office. Doctor comes in. He's maybe 5 or 6 feet away from the x-ray, and he goes, "Yep, that's broken. You broke that." And I had to wear a cast for a little while, and that's pretty much the end of that story. But I tell it, and I bring it up because it wasn't a total loss on my end. I gained a couple things. You might be wondering, what did I gain out of breaking my arm? Well, I got to wear a cast in middle school for a while, and I got a bunch of people to sign in, and got some middle school popularity points off that one. As we all know, that's what really matters in life. But the real thing I gained from it was I learned something, and I learned I'm not physically capable of leaping off large vehicles and slam dunking basketballs. If any one of you can do that, kudos to you. It's not something 13-year-old me could do. But I bring it up, and I bring this up because bad ideas are how we learn. They teach us what not to do, and as physically painful as some of them may be, like that story, the time I broke a toe by kicking a couch leg, or the time I had my hand slammed in a car door, or the time I dislocated a finger, or the time I had a nail bent backwards at 90 degrees, or any other time I've hurt myself, and there were a lot, they teach us what not to do, and I think they're really important to study. So that's what I'd really like to get into today. So there's 3 main points I'm trying to hit today. Number 1, what is a bad idea? Number 2, where do bad ideas come from? And number 3, how do we take a bad idea and how do we make it into a good one? Because that's really the whole point here. We don't want to just have an endless stream of awful ideas. Hopefully there'll be a diamond in the rough somewhere. Maybe we can find it, maybe we won't, who knows. But moving right along, so what is a bad idea? Well, ask anyone and they'll tell you that hindsight is 20/20. They'll say it's a lot easier to look back and say, wow, that was an awful idea, than it is to look forward and say, you know what, that is going to be an awful idea. But it's not absolutely impossible. It's not something that can't be done. There are some warning signs that you can look out for that will tell you that maybe that super brilliant idea of yours probably isn't the most super brilliant idea of all. Things like little consideration for risk or consequences. I think this one might be what my story was. But a good idea generally is aware of the impact it's going to have on the world around it. Like everything we do affects all the people we know, affects all our friends, family, coworkers, whatever. Bad ideas traditionally ignore this. So for example, like if someone comes to you and says, hey, I got a great idea for a get-rich-quick scheme. My first response would probably be, I don't think there is one, but whatever, let me hear it, I'm interested. If they say, I'm going to invest 75% of my income in the stock market, my first thought is going to be, no, don't do that. That's an awful idea. Especially if you choose to invest in Tesla. But we all know how volatile the stock market is. We all know it goes up and down, and that money can just whoosh, vanish overnight. See, this is obviously an extreme example, but it's clearly a bad idea because anyone who would try this has not thought it through. There's also things like tries to solve a problem that does not exist. Yeah, so the first one is kind of easy. As long as you're sort of aware of your actions having consequences, it's not super hard to avoid that one. This one's slightly more difficult. Why is that? Well, so I guess a personal example would be I've created all sorts of like small things like apps and other small stuff like that. And after a while I realized nobody really wanted any of it. But why did nobody really want it? Because it doesn't really solve any problem that anyone really has. Now, I'm not saying that every single idea ever has to solve a problem. You know, that's ridiculous. But in the context of, say, like business, if you're serving a customer or serving some kind of user, you want to solve actual problems that that user has. So for another example, the team I work on, the app that we make works for pharmacists and pharmacy technicians. And we have an amazing product manager who I'm going to give a real quick shout out right now, Mr. Kevin Kriegel. He's not here right now, but if he was, I'd point to him. But he knows what our users need and what they don't. He's very aware of the concept of scope creep. And it helps keep our team in line, it helps keep us checked, and doesn't let us make things that the users don't need. But if we didn't have someone like him, we'd be directionless, we'd be unfocused, we wouldn't know what we'd be doing. We'd be shooting in the dark a lot of the times, and we'd probably be wasting a lot of our time and humanity's money. And if we were doing that, in a business sense, it's really easy to pick that and just throw it in the bad idea, do not attempt again pile. Disregards general knowledge. So this one is also a little tricky because there's a fine line between disregarding general knowledge and pushing boundaries on things that we may or may not know. Pushing scientific boundaries is great. It's how we learn. You may fail, you may crash and burn, but it's how you learn. Disregarding general knowledge. See, sometimes there's just things that we already know aren't going to work, and trying them isn't really going to fix them anyways. Like maybe this. So, yeah. But there's all sorts of different categories that bad ideas could fall under, and I'm sure some of you could probably think of something that does not fall under any of these categories that could be considered a bad idea. But sort of in the interest of time, I wanted to kind of condense it down to a few, and wanted to just sort of go over, I guess, the broad scope of what a bad idea might fall under. But you might be wondering to yourself now, okay, where do bad ideas come from? Where do terrible, awful ideas come from? And the answer may or may not be obvious, but I think good intentions. They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and in a way, that's pretty true. See, nobody sets out to have an awful idea. Nobody sets out to come up with an idea and fall in love with it and then watch it fail, watch it crash and burn. Why? Well, because it hurts. Because people want to be remembered as the person who had the good idea. They don't want to be remembered as the person who had the bad idea. And along with it, just hurting maybe your self-esteem, in a business sense, it could cost the company money, or it could cost the company time, or if it's really bad, maybe your job. So something like this, for example. why we should fire all our salesmen. That sounds like a bad idea, but I am sure he is fully confident this is going to be the biggest thing this company will ever do. Some real-life examples of something like this might look something like New Coke, which if you were around when this happened, you might remember it. If you don't know the story, in the 1980s, Coca-Cola was experimenting with new drinks in an effort to best both Pepsi and themselves. And they eventually came up with a formula that taste tests showed people liked better than both Pepsi and themselves. And anytime a company creates a product like that, oh, awesome, right? This is great. We have a product that's better than our current product and better than our competitors. So what does Coca-Cola decide to do? They decide to scrap their current product and only sell New Coke. I see you nodding your head over there. Yeah, this is where the problem comes in. Because while taste tests might have shown that people like this better than Coca-Cola, what it couldn't show was that people really liked Coca-Cola. And when Coca-Cola takes that away from them, they don't want this new Coke. They don't know what this is. What they know is Coca-Cola. They know the original. And people did not like this. People were very upset over this. So after a while, I don't remember the exact time period, but after a while, Coca-Cola was like, okay, fine. Here's the original back. And they started selling it as Coca-Cola Classic. I don't even know if you can buy New Coke anymore. You might have to correct me if I'm wrong on that, but this is pretty much remembered as a huge marketing failure. There's also something like the Hoover flight promotion. So if you don't know this story, in the 1990s, appliance company Hoover had warehouses filled with overstock in the UK. They had no idea what to do with all these appliances that no one wanted to buy. What does a company normally do in this situation? Right? A sale. Drop the price, you start a promotion, you do whatever you can to get people out there and start buying your products. Well, Hoover decides to go the extra mile here. They partnered up with a travel agency and offered 2 free flights to America with any purchase of a Hoover product worth over 100 British pounds. And that worked. That really worked. People flocked to the stores. People bought all sorts of Hoover products that they didn't even want just to get these flights. And as you can probably imagine at this point, this is where the problem comes in. Because Hoover did not expect to clear house like they did. And so now, they suddenly owe tens of millions of British pounds worth of flight tickets to countless citizens. Well, Hoover, being a company that realized the problem it was in, suddenly did not want to pay out these flight tickets. And a lot of customers were like, no, I bought the required products, I'm getting my flight tickets, I'm taking you to court over this. So they ended up getting sued a lot. I think a vast majority of the customers that actually got or purchased the required stuff did not actually get their flight tickets. The company's reputation was hit hard because now this company is not giving out what it promised in its promotion. I think overall they made about 30 million British pounds worth of profit and ended up having to pay out over 50 million. It was a loss. And also, as I mentioned, the reputation took a hit. You don't want to go buy more products from a company when they promised you something in a promotion and suddenly they're like, you know what, I'm not giving this to you. 3 top executives lost their jobs over this one. So Quickster, this is a more recent one. It's 2019, so I'm going to go ahead and assume every single one of us knows what Netflix does. But in 2011, Netflix was just beginning to dip its toes into the streaming market. Now, its CEO knew that this was going to be the future. And he was right. He was absolutely right. How many of you all streamed something on Netflix recently? A lot of you, yeah. But Netflix still had this pesky little thing called DVD sales that were apparently getting in the way of their streaming. So what their CEO decided to do was cut right down the middle, was offer streaming as one service provided by Netflix and offer DVD sales as another service provided by this new company called Quickster. Now each was going to charge separately, and if you wanted both, you'd have to pay for both, which the combined price is going to be more than what Netflix was offering before for both of them. Needless to say, people didn't like this, because like with New Coke, people don't like when companies take away what you had before, but here it kind of works because now they're charging you more for it. And Netflix also underestimated the people still using their DVD services. So within about 3 months, I think it was, Netflix lost over 800,000 subscribers and their stock value was cut in half. So they did the right thing in the end and they axed this real quick. By the end of the year, this was gone. but the stock price had taken a hit, investors were kind of weary, and a lot of people, now, obviously Netflix is still doing well for itself now, but this was a major bump in the road for them. And if you look this up, one of the first things that's going to come up is biggest failure for Netflix or something like that, when I was doing research for this. So you might be wondering to yourself right now, okay, these all had good intentions, they all just wanted to get more customers or drive up company profits or do whatever it takes to help the company. What went wrong? Why did these fail? Well, I think that the question here is, how can we take a bad idea and make it good? So how can we take something like one of those and actually make it work? And I believe there is a one-word answer for this, and that is feedback. You've probably heard this a million times before in your professional career, but feedback, feedback, feedback. That is, see, it's important because in a lot of bad ideas, there's that inkling of a good idea, that remnant of a good intention. That's what's staying there, and if you can capture that perfectly, that's how you can take a bad idea and make it good. If you just put an ounce of effort into it, you can probably take an awful idea and make it, all right, not too bad. Might take a little more to make it great, but if you ever decide to go out and get feedback on an idea you may have, first off, congratulations for putting yourself out there and trying to get feedback on something. But it might be important to know that not every piece of feedback you get is going to be equally valuable. Some of them are just going to be useless, to say the least. Like these. This game is garbage. I just wanted to vote yes to increase the overall percent rating of this game. You call this CSGO, well I call it CS bad. Come on Valve, you should rename this game to CS stop playing because it's bad. Best game ever, but League of Legends is better. But, nah. Or if the reviewer is not feeling particularly opinionated on the day they decide to give their review, it might just look like, So those are all real. If you have Steam, by the way, you probably know how bad some of the Steam reviews can be, but those are all real, completely useless reviews for various video games. So not every piece of feedback you're going to get is going to be that awful. It's not going to be that just, well, this person has no idea what they're talking about, because there's really nothing helpful you can get from those. But in a good piece of feedback, hopefully there is something you can latch onto. Hopefully there is something you can grab onto that will that will improve what you're working on. And that can almost be kind of tough to read at times, because it requires someone pretty much telling you to your face what you're doing wrong. And we all know, as I mentioned earlier, that can hurt your self-esteem. But one of the worst things you can do in that scenario is quit. One of the worst things you can do is give up, because you can't polish something that isn't made. You can't fix or repair something you haven't done. But what you can do, you can improve a draft. You can fix something that you've worked on, and you can repair something that you've started. So if someone gives you really bad feedback, don't give up. Just keep working on it. Now, in a bit of a last pivot, I want to go ahead and move to this. So this is a Forbes article titled, "Why Great Ideas Are Worthless." So I spent this whole talk talking about bad ideas and how to move those to good ideas, but now why great ideas are worthless. Well, are they worthless? Somewhat. It's not about the idea, it's about the execution. An idea combined with a successful execution can change the world. And that's the key right there, the combination. If you just let your ideas sit around, nothing's ever going to happen with them. It's not going to be carried out in the way that you would like. You have to actually get the ideas out there, act on them, and then that's when someone is going to come and tell you, wow, this is awful. So any questions? None? They did not, no. I'm kind of glad they didn't. So, probably, yeah. To sort of elaborate on what I said earlier, so when I went home and my parents asked what happened, I just said, I hurt myself in a basketball accident, and kind of left it at that. To this day, I have never told them I leaped off the car. Maybe if I show them this video, they'll be like, oh my God. Anything else? All right, well, thank you for coming.